The forest was a place of shadows, deep, unending shadows. Sunlight, it was said, had forgotten this place, or perhaps it simply feared to tread here. The trees were ancient, their branches gnarled like arthritic fingers. They clawed at a sky that was never truly bright. A perpetual twilight reigned. This was the cursed forest, a name whispered in hushed tones. Few who entered ever spoke of it again. They became part of its silence, part of its gloom. The air itself felt heavy, thick with unspoken sorrows and forgotten magic, clinging to everything like a damp shroud. Within this oppressive gloom moved Lyra. She was a fairy warrior, though her kind was now rare. Her enchanted armor was a beacon in the darkness. It did not shine brightly, but pulsed with a soft, ethereal light. Ancient magic lived within the metal, a faint heartbeat against the forest's chilling stillness. The glow was a comfort, small as it was. It was a reminder of a world beyond these cursed trees, a world she desperately sought to find again. Her presence was a spark of defiance in a land that demanded surrender, a single star in a lightless void. Her wings, once broad and shimmering, were now tattered. They bore the marks of struggle, of desperate flights and harsh landings. They could still carry her, but not far. Not like before. The forest exacted a toll on all things beautiful, all things free. Lyra was both. She moved with a grace that belied her perilous situation. Her steps were light upon the mossy ground, yet there was a fierceness in her eyes, a glint of resolve that the forest had not yet managed to extinguish. She was a creature of light, trapped in a realm of eternal dusk. The silence of the wood was a lie. It was filled with tiny, almost imperceptible sounds, the rustle of unseen things in the undergrowth, the sigh of the wind through the skeletal branches, like a mournful breath, and the whispers. The trees themselves seemed to murmur warnings. Or were they temptations? It was hard to tell. The forest played tricks on the mind. It preyed on fear. It fed on hope. Lyra listened, her head tilted, trying to discern threat from illusion, a constant battle in this deceptive domain. The whispers grew louder as she ventured deeper. They were not words, not in any language she knew. Yet their meaning was clear. Stay, they seemed to hiss. Become one of us. The trees themselves seemed to watch her. Their bark formed grotesque faces. Their branches reached like grasping claws. The very ground beneath her feet felt wrong, soft and yielding in places, as if it might swallow her whole. An eerie ambience permeated everything, a chill that had little to do with the temperature and much to do with the ancient malevolence that saturated the soil. Then came a new sound, a dragging, shuffling noise. It scraped against the silence, a discordant note in the forest's mournful symphony. Lyra tensed. Her hand went to the hilt of her blade. It was a moonlit blade, forged in a celestial fire, or so the legends claimed. It hummed faintly in her grip, eager, or perhaps afraid. The shadows around the base of a particularly large oak began to coalesce. They deepened, thickened, taking on a more substantial form than mere absence of light. Something was stirring from its long, unquiet slumber. From the earth they rose, the dead. Once they might have been proud knights. Their armor was rusted, broken, fallen kings, their crowns askew on skeletal brows. Their eyes were not empty sockets. Cold fire burned within them, an unholy light that promised only pain and oblivion. They were the forest's guardians, its prisoners, its eternal inhabitants. They moved with a creaking, relentless purpose. Their hollow gaze fixed upon the small, glowing fairy warrior who dared to intrude upon their domain, their silence broken by the clatter of bone and ancient metal. Lyra knew them for what they were. The forest did not let its victims rest. It twisted them, remade them into extensions of its own curse. Their whispers joined the trees, a chorus of despair and hunger. "Join us!" they rasped, their voices like dry leaves skittering across tombstones. The forest claims all. She saw the remnants of chivalry in their stance, the echo of nobility in their decayed forms. It made their current state all the more horrifying, a grim testament to the forest's power to corrupt and defile even the most valiant of souls. Lyra did not hesitate. Fear was a luxury she could not afford. Her moonlit blade sang as it left its sheath. The The soft, silvery light of the weapon cut through the gloom, a stark contrast to the cold fire in the dead knight's eyes. She moved like a whirlwind, a blur of motion and flickering light. Her tattered wings, though damaged, gave her brief bursts of aerial maneuverability. She would leap, spin, her blade a silver arc. Each strike was precise, aimed at a joint, a neck, a place where ancient bones might finally be persuaded to part. The undead were relentless. They felt no pain, only an unyielding desire to drag her down into their shadowy ranks. One knight, taller than the rest, its helmet adorned with a broken stag emblem, lunged with a rusted greatsword. Lyra sidestepped, the wind of its passage stirring her hair. She countered with a swift thrust, her blade finding a gap in its corroded breastplate. Ethereal dust, not blood, puffed from the wound. The knight staggered but did not fall. The battle was one of attrition, a test of her endurance against their endless numbers. Her wits were as sharp as her blade. She used the terrain to her advantage, luring the clumsy undead into tangled thickets where their movements were hampered. She vaulted over fallen logs, using the brief respite to catch her breath, to assess the shifting tide of the fight. The whispers of the trees intensified, urging her to falter, to despair. The glowing runes on her armor pulsed faster now, a protective ward against the chilling aura of the risen dead. But even ancient magic had its limits when faced with such overwhelming, unceasing malice. With every fallen foe, another seemed to take its place. The forest floor became littered with shattered bones and discarded, rusted weapons. Lyra fought on, a solitary beacon of defiance. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Sweat mingled with the grime on her face. Her tattered wings ached with the effort of even short bursts of flight. The moonlit blade, though potent, could not destroy the curse itself, only its manifestations. She knew she could not fight forever. She had to find a way out, a path through the endless night. The fight had driven her deeper into the cursed wood. Or perhaps the wood itself had shifted, its paths twisting and turning to ensure she remained lost. The trees grew closer together now, their branches intertwining overhead, forming a dense canopy that swallowed even the faintest hint of an outside world. The air grew colder, the whispers more insidious, promising rest, promising an end to her struggle if she would only yield. The glowing embers in the eyes of the undead seemed to burn brighter, fueled by her growing exhaustion. She saw a flicker, not the cold fire of the dead, not the pulse of her armor. It was something else, a faint, almost imperceptible lightening in the oppressive darkness ahead. Was it a trick? Another illusion woven by the malevolent forest? Or could it be an edge, a boundary to this eternal night? Hope, a dangerous and fragile thing, fluttered within her chest, as battered as her wings. She pushed forward, her moonlit blade still carving a path through the grasping hands and clattering bones of the relentless undead. The undead surged, as if sensing her desperate attempt to escape. They threw themselves at her with renewed ferocity, a tide of decaying flesh and rusted metal. Her armor, though still glowing, felt heavier. Her blade, though still sharp, moved with a fraction less speed. Every muscle screamed in protest. Every beat of her tattered wings was an agony. She was fighting on pure will now, on the faint flickering image of that distant light. Was it the promise of dawn, or merely the deeper darkness of the forest's heart deceiving her weary eyes? She broke through a final line of grasping skeletal warriors. The light was closer now, but it was strange. It was not the warm glow of a sun she remembered. It was a pale, uncertain luminescence. The trees here were different, their bark almost white, their leaves like silver. Was this the way out? Or was it merely another chamber in this vast, cursed prison? Lyra paused at the threshold, her breath catching in her throat. Behind her, the shadows writhed, the dead regrouping. Ahead lay the unknown, her fate hung suspended, as delicate as a spider's thread in the wind.